Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have European countries threatening to send troops to Greenland to protect against the United States potentially taking Greenland by force. We've got other updates here when it comes to the United States, what I would expect to be a diplomatic annexation of Greenland. It's very likely what it's going to be. It's inevitable. It needs to happen for safety purposes. And yeah, I mean, I think it will end up happening. It just makes sense. You talk to any military expert, they'll say, yeah, I mean, this is just the infrastructure, the mining potential, the safety, the Northwest Passage, the potential influence by Russia. It needs more U.S. protection, and we use it kind of as a guise. It's like, yeah, we want to protect them. I mean, we want the trillions of dollars of natural resources on Greenland, and that's just what happens with someone like the United States. Is this is just a normal thing for us, and so this is what's going to happen. So when it comes to the dynamics of it, it does seem like the European countries are very angry about this. It does seem like this is going to be because they want to tie this up in a diplomatic thing. That's what Denmark really wants. I don't know how much of that is Denmark just hoping they can get something for Greenland by saying, we love Greenland, we want to keep it, even though it costs them money to be able to keep Greenland afloat because their economy doesn't generate it. I mean, they have 57,000 people. So my guess is Denmark right now is in a posturing mode where they have to pretend like they love having control of Greenland, even though it doesn't even make sense. Greenland would, if they had a referendum, they would leave Denmark. Now, they also would not join the United States, and therein lies the problem. That's why I think they would want an economic relationship with the U.S. You can see this: to safeguard the Arctic, Trump should work with Denmark and Greenland. And then it talks about the rhetoric that Trump's had about, well, we need Greenland for safety, addressing security challenges in the Arctic. Despite mounting threats, Denmark and its allies, including the U.S., have not responded with sufficient urgencies. As tensions rise, Arctic NATO members, the United States, Canada, Denmark, and Norway, bear the shared responsibility of strengthening their defense posture. Well, I think Trump is trying to help strengthen it by taking over Greenland and adding more military security there. Misguided proposals to strengthen partnerships. In 2019, Trump proposed, I'm going to actually zoom this in. 2019, Trump proposed the idea of purchasing Greenland to address the security challenges. This suggestion, however, was and remains misguided. The United States already enjoys excessive access and cooperation in Greenland through defense agreements with the Kingdom of Denmark and solid partnerships with Denmark and Greenland. So, right, it's really not why we want it. We want the natural resources. Okay, we want the resources, but we say, well, no, it's for military protection, and it is in a way it is. But yeah, we already do have a military base there. We've had it since World War II. This article, it doesn't understand that. No, we want the resources, including rare earths, which right now China has monopoly over. We want the ability to do that. But this is going to be a diplomatic struggle between the United States, Greenland, and Denmark, because Denmark either wants to keep Greenland, which I don't think is very. It just doesn't make any sense. Even for the West in general, it's like Denmark does not have the resources to sufficiently protect Greenland from an invasion. Not that there would be an invasion, but I'm just saying, and they don't have the resources to be able to extract. And by the way, that's a partnership that would be happening. Like, let's say Denmark is a bigger country, and they have the resources and the investment to extract and mine the natural resources on Greenland. Well, Greenland would probably get a share of that. The idea, and this is another thing that I saw, and this is what happens with these people. It's like, well, allow them to mine their own natural resources. They can't. They don't have the money to do it. They don't have the personnel to do it. They have 57,000 total people there. They don't have the technology to do it. This would all come from an outside investment to be able to extract all of the natural resources along the coast, and then with the glacier melt, you'll be able to go in further and further and further. And that's when you've got just a treasure trove of trillions of dollars in natural resources. It costs a lot of money to extract them, but inevitably it'll hopefully pay off. Nobody actually knows how much money worth of natural resources is within Greenland, but it's a ton. But if Denmark was, and not even, they didn't have to be, you don't have to be on the United States level, but if Denmark had a higher GDP, they had a bigger population, they had a bigger country, they could have a relationship with Greenland to where they would be making a big investment into mining within the country of Greenland, and Greenland would get something for that, like 5% or whatever, and Denmark would get the rest. And so you have this very nice relationship, but they can't do that. They don't have the Denmark does not have the resources or the investment power to be able to actually perform something like that. The United States would. And so that's why it makes sense for the United States. The question is, you do this diplomatically, or do you just, they don't have a, the thing is, Greenland does not have a military. So the United States could just occupy Greenland and force some type of it's like a diplomatic takeover, I would say, honestly. It's something like that. Listen, if NATO really wants to go against the United States, I mean, it's just crazy. Like, I would understand the United States having less leverage in this potential situation to where, because this is basically every country in NATO against the United States in terms of the US annexing Greenland. The problem is the United States controls NATO based on how big our military budget is and our GDP and just our economic strength. And it's not even close. Like, if we had like 33% of the budget, okay, all the other countries could come together and they could have leverage against the United States performing this annexation. But when the United States makes up like 70%, or I think it's like 75%, or it's like US and Canada, but even just the US, it's like 70% of the overall military budget of NATO, way over half. One country is way over half. That's like, you see these headlines where it's like, well, NATO is going to send troops to Greenland to protect against the United States. That headline doesn't make any sense. NATO is the United States. The United States is the supreme ultimate powerful in terms of, based on military might, well over 50%. So that's why I struggle to understand. I think a lot of this is posturing, and maybe some of these European countries want some of these resources. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they want it to be some type of big collaboration with everyone rather than just the United States. So Trump does see this as a significant opportunity based off of the mining potential and the investments that the United States can make. And by the way, this goes to Greenland and the people of Greenland as a pitch to have the United States. I mean, you need somebody, you need help from someone. Now, I think what NATO probably wants is, they probably want Greenland, if they were to have a referendum to become independent fully from Denmark, they would want some type of relationship to where it would be a European Union economic investment into Greenland, or maybe a NATO investment to where all the countries come together. Obviously, the United States does not want that. The United States wants to extract all of the natural resources for the United States. That's what Trump wants. So that could be another thing. And then you've got this, America's NATO ally urged to buy California. So yeah, they decided to do a little joke against the United States and say, well, Denmark has proposed to buy California. I guess it's a funny joke. But that was just that. I mean, look at this. Germany says they're going to increase NATO presence in Greenland. That doesn't make, so the United States is going to increase their presence. Like, so you see what I'm saying? Like, the U.S. is NATO, but you maybe talk about the European Union could increase their military presence to try and prevent the United States. That I would understand more than that headline. That headline doesn't make any sense. The United States is NATO. But yes, the United States will likely be increasing their military presence in Greenland. And yeah, that one article, when you look at this article, they are correct in terms of, when you're talking about, well, does it really make sense in terms of safety to make sure Greenland is safe? That's why the United States needs to take it over. It's, I mean, it partially is because of safety, yeah, but it's more so about the resources, and there's also oil mining, and so it's pretty big in terms of that. But Trump is just saying, well, it's for the safety and everything, and it's part of it. But I understand people saying that's not an adequate reason to annex a country. I do understand that. But you know how these countries are. It's all talking about, they try and use diplomacy as like the way out from the United States being able to exercise their force through proxy. It's unfortunate you have to kind of deal with it, but the way you stem this is, I would just, listen, I would tell Denmark it's going to be the easy way or the hard way. We'll either give you a few $1 billion, or I mean, I don't know how much it would cost. we'll either give you some money for it, or we're just gonna occupy Greenland, and it's gonna be a non. It's gonna be a military exercise. It's gonna be safe. It's gonna be safe for everyone, and it's gonna be good, really good for the people of Greenland. And that's not aggressive. That's, this is just these. They're gonna be fine with it after you get like 10. Once you occupy it and it gets taken over, it's not a big deal. There's really nothing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just it's good. It's good for everyone. But I guess these European countries are just not happy. They think, well, Trump's going to start taking over everything. I mean, even, a lot of Americans are like, well, it's globalism. These people have no clue the population of Greenland. Yeah, you know what? If Trump decided to invade India, there's your globalism. Invading Greenland it's not even an invasion. It's the diplomatic takeover. There might have to be a military exercise on Greenland, though, because these countries, they need to cooperate. If they don't cooperate, you have to force them to cooperate. That's why Trump is tariffing all of these countries. And it's also because the United States companies do not want to domestically source their material. And you have to force that. It's forcing action. You have to force action. So listen, we'll see what happens when it comes to the Greenland situation. But I think the United States will get Greenland. Worst case, I do think it would be an economic relationship to where you technically give Greenland their independence, but they would allow the United States the ability to extract resources in exchange for Greenland getting a cut of it. That's something that could happen as well. The idea that Greenland would stay with Denmark seems not very smart for the people of Greenland, that's for sure, and they don't want to do it. Right now, the people of Greenland, it seems like, based off of the polling, they do not want to join the United States, but they also do not want their current relationship with Denmark. They basically want to be completely independent and then likely have economic relationships, whether that's with NATO as a whole or with what Trump wants, which is the United States solely with them, which would allow the United States the basically free range, depending on the agreement, to the natural resources on Greenland. And so I think that's probably what Trump would prefer, rather than some type of, well, Greenland becomes independent and then they set up an economic relationship with all of NATO, which is probably what NATO wants. NATO is very, well, again, it's hard to say. I'd rather just say the European Union, because NATO is the United States controls NATO. I mean, that's it. I don't know what to tell these other European countries. They need to get better militaries. They need to get rid of liberalism if they want to have a chance to. It's absurd. They haven't been able to build themselves up at all. At least not to anywhere close to the degree of the United States. And some of them have. I mean, there's certainly economic powers within NATO, like Germany, but it's just the United States completely lapsed them. And that's why people are starting to shift and say, well, the United States with NATO, it doesn't make sense for the U.S. when you look at the analysis done and you look at the top reviews of this NATO agreement based on where the United States is at in this stage of the country. It would be more you would want to make individual agreements with certain countries rather than this. But listen, when it comes to, I would assume that might be a little bit of a global tug of war here between the European Union and the United States when it comes to the situation within Greenland, because I'm guessing those European countries, I don't know if they're actually scared that Trump is going to do some type of crazy thing. I'm not even sure what they're suggesting. Like, these countries, like, well, if he takes over this, then he's going to do that, because they're worried about Trump taking over Canada. But even Canada, it's north of the United States. That's North America. Trump wants control of North America. And by the way, it's not even really what's happening there. Trump doesn't even want Canada. From what I think it's more about a trade deal. So I think the only place that Trump really wants right now is Greenland. That's realistic. It would be Greenland. So it's not like Trump's going to start taking over these European countries. It's more so this is an opportunity. I mean, Trump said it back in 2019. Trump didn't even talk about Canada in 2019. He said he wanted Greenland because Greenland makes the most sense for everyone involved. including the people of Greenland, when it comes to the United States investment on to the country. The European Union, can they demonstrate that they would invest more into Greenland to make the people of Greenland and their lives better? Can they really demonstrate the ability to do that? That the United States can? Can Denmark do that? Why would the people of Greenland want to be with Denmark over the United States when the United States can protect them better, can allow them to extract their own resources and get a cut of it, can get better overall jobs through the investment the United States makes onto it, better technology? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, obviously the United States would have to commit to that, and that's something. But just looking at the GDP, I mean, the United States could infuse Greenland with so much more capital than Denmark can. It's not even close. So that's why I think eventually it's almost inevitable that unless there's something with the European Union where they're like, well, let's do an economic relationship, and you get into that's why I think Trump might just send troops to occupy it and secure it. It's just securing the island, and making sure that it doesn't, these European countries, and they've treated Trump so badly, and Trump is he's been very peaceful throughout all of this, and the European countries, they've been very, very evil, and it's just not good. So we're trying to be peaceful. We don't want to do it the hard way. The European countries they're talking about escalation. They're talking about sending troops. This is not what anyone wants. You need to calm down. It's like a 5-year-old saying he can drink a beer. You calm down. So we'll see what happens with them. But I think, it's a diplomatic tug of war. Either way, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.